Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parents Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen steals all my Pokemon cards. Disney moms save the day. After that, am I the jerk for mocking a Karen for being single in her 40s? And after that, Karen thinks I work at a Mexican restaurant since I speak Spanish. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to steal anyone's Pokemon cards. But my son needs them! So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen steals all my Pokemon cards. Disney moms save the day. So, to set the story, my family was camping up in the Canadian North. It was a large family cabin, meaning only families with kids could stay there. We shared it with about 10 other families. I was playing with the family's kids and showing off my Pokemon cards. I was a huge collector and had so many rare cards. One kid, Brad, showed a special interest. "Those are so cool," Brad says. Me, "Heck yeah, I love Pokemon." "I want them," Brad says. Me, "You can get them at Walmart." I think this is the end of it as he walks off after a little bit of chatting. About 10 minutes later, Karen approaches me, which I thought was creepy since I was alone at this point. "Hey there, girl. Brad said you have some cool Pokemons. Brad would really like those Pokemons," says Karen. Karen then pulled out $10 and offered it to me for all of my Pokemon cards. "No way. Pokemon is like my favorite thing ever," I say. I'm creeped out, but flattered that even she likes my Pokemon cards. She leaves, still giving me creeper vibes. Time passed, and the kids all came, except Brett, out of their rooms and decided to make a giant pillow fort in the living room space. I leave my Pokemon card binder on the big log table I had been sitting at this entire time. After I help make a glorious pillow fort, I come back to my table. The binder is gone. I immediately start freaking out looking for it. After looking for it for a bit, I see Brad looking suspicious in the hallway. "Hey Brad, have you seen my Pokemon cards? I can't find them," I say, extremely distressed. Brad smiles and says, "Mommy said that I could have them." "What? No! Give them back," I say. The rest is fuzzy, but I remember my mom confronting the Karen. The Karen insisted she knew nothing about it. When I said what the kid had told me, the kid denied it. We even asked the person running the camp if they could search Karen in Brad's room, but it was against camp policy. I am extremely sad for the rest of the trip. The only card I have left is the Eevee card I always kept in my back pocket. When we returned, my mom got to work. My mom was in what we referred to as the Disney Moms. It was an online forum for middle-aged women obsessed with Disney, like to an unhealthy degree. My mom made a forum about what happened to me. Well, the Disney Mom bloggers stepped up. For the next 3 months, I received mail of Pokemon cards, all with extremely kind handwritten letters of sympathy. I got back only a fraction of what I had lost, but my faith in humanity had been restored. To this day, I am still touched by their actions. Thank you, Disney Moms. If Karen and Brad are reading this, forget you. Give me back my holographic Charizard. Speaking of Pokemon, who's your favorite Pokemon of all time? Please let us know. Magikarp for the win. Magikarp. Am I the jerk for mocking a Karen for being single in her 40s? This whole saga started because my husband took my last name. A couple of weeks ago, he got his workplace to change it, and his coworkers found out. About half of them think this is the funniest thing ever, and about half of them are deeply offended. Brenda is in the offended half and has made that clear. He and I are in a group chat with his coworkers where we organize carpooling. It's very useful to us, so we can't leave the chat. Since he changed his name, my husband and I have been dealing with a lot of dumb jokes in the chat, which we have been mostly ignoring. Yesterday, Brenda, his coworker, and I got into a bit of a spat. I messaged the group asking if someone could take my husband home since I wouldn't be back from work until late and needed the car. One of his other coworkers agreed, and I thought that was that. Brenda messages the group saying, "Maybe if you spent less time at work and more time being a wife, your husband wouldn't come into work with dirty shirts." I took this as a bad joke initially. My husband is a rural mail carrier, so his shirts look like shirts worn by someone in 90-degree heat on dusty roads. I do wash them, but there's only so much to be done. Me. I could make cleaning those shirts my full-time job, and it wouldn't do much. Lol. Brenda. You won't be married very long if you keep trying to be the man in the relationship. I'd be embarrassed as a wife if I did so little for my husband. Me. Well, I work more hours and pay the bills, so I think he can OxyClean his own shirts if it's so important. Brenda. Maybe you should learn to take proper care of your husband, or you'll find yourself divorced. Me. I'll let you know when I need relationship advice from someone who is 42 and single. Now, apparently Brenda is going around and saying that I mocked her for being single in her 40s. I don't care if someone is single in their 40s, but I think it's absolute BS that she can call me a bad wife, but I can't point out that she has no frame of reference. Am I the jerk, Reddit? Edit. People keep asking why I need to help arrange rides in the first place. When my husband is out on deliveries, he rarely has cell service, so if I find out late that I'm going to be home late, I need to be able to reach his coworkers directly. Multiple spouses are in the chat for the same reasons. Edit 2. People are saying that I've hurt my husband's feelings by saying I pay the bills. After reading the exchange, he sent me a text saying, "Sometimes I forget you're a hard little jerk who takes no prisoners. I'm so proud, lol." He's fine. I asked him just now if my comment about the bills hurt him, and he said, "Oh yeah, it's so hard having a hot wife who makes good money. Really tough. Pray for me." Am I the jerk for building a fence and blocking my neighbors from the road? So, I'm the owner of a large house with a huge property surrounding it. When I bought my property 5 years ago, I basically lived at least 5 minutes away from the nearest house. However, the villages and towns have been expanding, and as a result, started developing houses next to my property. I was fine with it, nothing I could do about it to begin with, but my property is big enough not to really notice to begin with, or so I assumed. It's good to mention I basically pulled out a bunch of trees when I moved here and made a dirt road with gravel of sorts to allow me easy access to the main road nearby, instead of driving all the way around to access the main road. Well, soon after people started moving into the houses, I noticed people basically used my little road to access the main road nearby, and kids used my field to play football. I was pretty much okay with it because it wasn't bothering me or inconveniencing me. Until a few months later that was. Basically, whenever people had a party or a gathering, I noticed my road and the field, which they drove over, was full of cars, and a few weeks later, some people started straight up using it as a parking area. I had multiple talks with multiple people, and the results ranged from apologetic people moving their cars to aggressive people who told me to go forget myself. I finally had enough and started getting cars towed, which led to people yelling at my girlfriend in particular. As such, I built a large stone fence around my entire property. Well, multiple neighbors, including the aggressive ones, were all apologetic and asked me to remove the fence and told me how sorry they were for using it, as they basically had to add 15 to 20 minutes to their travel time to work without my shortcut. I told them to go forget themselves and to get the heck off my property, and if I saw them there again, I'd be letting my dogs loose. However, this is also impacting the nice neighbors, so I'm conflicted. What would you do? Would you leave up the gate or take it down? Please let us know. He needs to take that down. They deserve to use it. I want to speak to his manager. I'm not going to lie to my beloved coworkers for you, manager. Do you know how I got these numbers? So, I decided to share another story from my tech support call center days. Info. We worked with a program that was connected to our CRM that was guiding us step by step on what to ask customers and what troubleshooting steps to take. It's a really smart and good program, but it's just that, a program. There were few cases where it could not help at all or provided a wrong solution, and plenty more cases where experienced agents could identify and fix the issue much faster, and sometimes even without taking some steps that would severely affect the customer. The issue was that the company did not see it that way, and we were required to follow the flow exactly. Every agent had to work outside of it from time to time. Managers still did not like it, but I was part of a group of friends that very much enjoyed the technical side of the job and was notorious for having low compliance to this rule, but we had very good results to show for it, so they mostly let us be. Now onto the story. I just came to my shift and was getting my computer ready when my manager came to me. "Hey, OP, the final results came in and I see that you're number 1 on the team. On today's huddle, I'm gonna call you to the front, even though I said in a survey that was done no longer than a few months prior that I like to be recognized for my numbers in private, not in a group setting, and ask you how do you manage to get these good numbers, and I want you to help out the team and tell them it's because you follow the flow. But that's not true. You know that. I can't say that. Sure you can. They will listen to you and it will help our compliance. I'm not gonna lie to them. Please don't call me to the front. This is where our conversation ended, and we headed to the couch to have a 15-minute morning huddle, and 5 minutes into it, I'm being called to the front with some awkward forced clapping. Now he is indeed asking me, "How did you reach such good numbers?" with his slimy eyes looking at me, and his bald head nodding like he was assuring me, "You can become this sleazy office rat like I did." Well, I was super mad at this point, as he was forcing me in a really uncomfortable situation, and thought in my head, do you want to know how I got these numbers? Sure. Well, it definitely had to be the fact that I learned to cooperate with our awesome program and use it as my guide during the calls while keeping in mind it's just a program and keeping an eye open for a better solution for my customer than the program can provide. This way, I'm able to significantly reduce my technician dispatch rates and my average handling time since I can often find a solution faster. I wanted to keep talking, but after this sentence, he kinda roughly interrupted me and thanked me while trying to somehow turn what I said in his favor, but I cannot honestly remember the rest of what was told. I loathe public speaking, and I'm a shy person, and just this sentence in front of 15 people made me sweat like heck. I just remember a few guys holding back laughter. The manager came to me right after the huddle and was disappointed that I betrayed his trust, and what do I have to say for the reason I did it? And I just replied with, "I warned you beforehand," and quickly took an incoming call just so he could not talk to me. I later received a few messages from him, how he was disappointed and how he thought I wanted to also be a manager one day. But at that stage in the company, I knew it wasn't going to be my long-term career, so whatever. Sorry for this being long, and thank you for reading. Hopefully you enjoy a call center story where the laughingstock is not one of the customers. Big Mama out. Am I the jerk for feeling entitled to half of my spouse's paycheck? So, background. We've been married for 12 years and have kids. I, 35 male, and my wife, 36 female, have had a traditional division of labor where I work. I'm in IT, and she's a stay-at-home mom. This was certainly not a setup I enforced in any respect. She's actually more educated than I am. She has a bachelor's and I only have an associate's, but her degree is in physical education, so I have more earning potential being in IT. I always made sure every now and then to encourage her to work if she ever felt she wanted or needed to. Being a stay-at-home mom is something she's always voluntarily and willingly done because I've been able to make enough money for us to be comfortable on a single income. So all that said, everything between us is shared. We have a singular bank account where my check is direct deposited into. It's not my money, it's our money. She actually handles the bills, savings, and financials because it's something she wants to do and likes. I've never had to police her spending because she's thrifty, and we have mutual agreement discussions on anything that costs more than $100 or so. So we're coming up on a new marriage milestone where our youngest, no more kids for us, is going to school soon. My wife is now talking about going back to work, something I 100% stand behind and support, and we've had discussions about it before. Number one on the docket of her going back to work is that I help out at the house and we split household chores evenly. So the other day, my wife was dreaming about what she's going to do with her extra money. She was excited about being able to do things she normally held back a lot on, like getting newer clothes or jewelry, getting her nails done, and doing other fun things like getting nice bookshelves and to start building a library. I chimed in, "Wow, you got some big plans. I wonder what I'm going to do with my half." Her face, you guys. First it went white with surprise and shock, and then the brows furrowed and her face went red. "What do you mean, your half?" That's where I argued that everything I ever made during our marriage was equally shared, and why should her money be any different? She said that my paycheck was the family's money, and that her paycheck was extra money that she's earning for herself. I then told her that sure, she can work and make extra money that she can use in any way she sees fit, but then I no longer felt it fair I took equal work of household upkeep. She went livid and called me a jerk. I never even got a chance to tell her that I actually wanted to take 25% of her paycheck and more aggressively save for retirement, but I'm afraid of that now. So, am I a jerk for expecting her paycheck to be shared? Edit. Didn't know I can edit a locked post. A lot of people are asking for updates. There isn't one. One of the reasons I could post this today is because my wife was gone all day at a scheduled event. This happened last night. Maybe, if the mods approve it, I can do an update post in a couple weeks. Maybe. This got more attention than I was ready for, and it's giving me anxiety. It was probably a mistake to post this. Well, what do you think? Do you agree with OP or with his wife? Please let us know. They could just give me both their paychecks. Problem solved. Boss doesn't need any help, then asks for help and bashes me later. I worked for a place just shy of 15 years, worked my way from chump to champ, and I was essentially tripped at the finish line. I put my heart and soul into this company because I believed in it, and then the last 2 to 3 years because I would have a high-end position. The promise resulted in me returning to get my MBA because the position itself would pay off big for the rest of my foreseeable career. Long story short, and not for this story, it didn't happen. Unbeknownst to me, an outsider, Susan, not working for the company, had been seating themselves in the minds of the board of directors and CEO for about a year as the perfect person to fill the role I had been working towards. News travels in the industry when someone is getting up in years and ready to retire. When I say I was working towards this position, I mean the person that held this position started showing me their role, how to do certain aspects, and had me take over essential duties when they were gone. I even worked with their VP on some of these things to learn the ropes. It was intended I'd know how to do it so I could be an easy hire and slip right in. Details for another story. But in the end, Susan ended up getting the position, becoming my direct supervisor. To their credit, they were qualified for the job, but they weren't half as ambitious as the person they were replacing. And I actually knew and was already trained on how to do most of the duties of Susan's position. Combine my now salty self with the fact I had got an MBA for this position. The entire thing felt like a giant waste. Worse, I ended up having to show Susan how to do a few things. This is important for later. Unfortunately, Susan had a friend and distant relative that worked at my company. Her name was Candy. Candy was a buffoon. Good personality, but how do I put this? Not qualified to sharpen pencils. It's not that Candy was dumb. She was just incompetent. No confidence, no palpable skills, and needed extra hand-holding and help with every task she was assigned. It took her well over a year of basic Excel data entry before she felt confident doing it by herself, and even then she'd make a mistake and have to ask for help from a variety of people. Candy was hired in her late 30s, and she didn't know how to address an envelope or draft a letter. Susan asked her to make a promotional flyer for a small update on something internal, as in, take these bullet points and throw them in a cute one-page promo flyer. She worked 2 full days on it before she asked for help from lower employees. She was incapable of performing any basic office function, but when she managed to complete small basic tasks, she was praised like someone who used a toilet instead of going in their pants. To make matters worse, there was a position at the company which was essentially like a VP to Susan, but different. The VP could handle basic functions if Susan was off on vacation to keep things going, but they also had their own set of unique duties that no one else handled, and Susan should do if VP is gone, but ultimately never would because they were challenging and Susan wasn't ambitious, remember? VP and I were close colleagues and always on great terms. They wanted to work for another 7 to 10 years, after having put in 27 years, but was waiting to see how Susan worked out as the new person in charge of this part of the company. VP lasted 2 years after Susan was hired before retiring. VP told me I should apply for their job, because if I was qualified for Susan's job, I sure as heck could do their job. I didn't want to do it, as it was a slap in the face, and I didn't want to get complacent, but VP said I should just take it for now, just for the pay bump, and then have something else to put on my resume. Solid VP gave solid advice, so I applied for it. Susan, of course, encouraged Candy to apply for it, and in a conversation I overheard, Candy was bragging to another coworker that Susan had promised her the position, but Susan would go through the motions to quell employee anger. Me. Longer story short, Candy got the position. So to recap, I not only didn't get the position of Susan's, which I had worked up towards, been shown how to do the duties, and had got an MBA to do it, and then I still wasn't the best candidate for the VP position. I should note other coworkers applied for the VP position that also would have been a better candidate than Candy. She was literally the least qualified of everyone that applied. I was perpetually angry during the entire Susan and Candy saga. When Susan was hired, I immediately started sending out resumes and only doubled my efforts when Candy was promoted. I found a comparable position to Susan's, aka my dream job, at another company. It happened to be that Susan also saw this position open, but on paper it wasn't a promotion, so she wasn't interested. She instead encouraged Candy to apply for it as it would be a jump up for her, and a huge jump for me. On the day of the interview, I walked out after feeling confident I nailed it to see Candy waiting in reception. Candy's interview was lined up right after mine. I found afterwards that the interviewers wanted to compare two people from the same company to see if there was a difference. In the end, I got the position, one of two final candidates, and Candy wasn't considered as one of them. I went back to work, gave my 2 weeks notice, and left. Now to get to the meat of the story. One of Susan's defining traits was that she was confident and able to sell herself, thus how she got the job in the first place. Remember earlier when I said I had to show Susan how to perform a few roles when she was hired? Well, one of my larger duties was IT person. I handled all of the IT affairs of the company, from server install to troubleshooting to networking. It's a full-time position to begin with, but I had other duties I had taken on / given over the years, more akin to 2 to 3 people's jobs, which I had always worked through it because I was working towards the position that Susan had took. So when the limited time I had left, and I had to take a few days off to burn time and line things up for my new job, I had to show Susan how to do things. For you IT people out there, it happened to be finishing up a big project to upgrade all employee computers. I was a good 85% done with this role, but there were some programs that needed set up via the server or advanced configuration that never got done, plus little hiccups that sometimes take minutes or sometimes take hours to chase down and fix. I left instructions the best I could, but said you'd likely need to reach out to support, and I gave the number to a company I know. But Susan told me repeatedly she could figure it out and it wasn't a big issue. She would never demonstrate she wasn't capable of handling something. About a month and some change later, Susan calls me up to congratulate me on my new position and make small talk to ask how things are going, etc. She starts winding down the conversation to tell me if I ever need any help, she'd be happy to offer advice. Oh, by the way, she didn't see any information in my notes, but do I know where such and such information is at? What's the password for the server? How do I remote into that again? Oh, and since she's at it, was there instructions on how to get archaic application working correctly with another application? Hey, half of our security cameras stopped working. Do you think they're unplugged? Nothing really important, just if I happen to know offhand. Well, I said, I documented the passwords down, network ports, specs, and different configuration procedures, but a lot of it was intrinsic on the job knowledge. Susan just stuttered and said, "Oh, okay, I'm sure it's right here. Thanks anyways, good luck. Let me know if you need help." Fast forward 6 months. New job is going great and turns out to be considerably better than demonstrated on paper and gave me opportunity to advance further. I have a few friends that work for IT support companies, and one day one mentions to me my old friend, Susan. "Oh," I asked. They said Susan had called them 4 to 5 months ago because they needed help setting up their machines. They were told that a guy that had set up the computers but didn't do a good job and left them with barely functional machines and a mess. Said Susan had set up a contract with the company and had been one of their most active clients trying to troubleshoot issues and still does to this date. They make a pretty good payday off the company now. I somewhat frequently bump into old coworkers at the company or clients. I did some project management tasks too. I've been told how it's been a lot different trying to get problems fixed, horrid IT issues, and there's a lot more challenges now that my role was never filled and different people got small chunks. Sounds like a lot of people aren't very happy, and a few more who I worked there with have quit and went somewhere else. All this has been years ago. Because of the industry I'm in, I bump into Susan or Candy now and then, and they tell me how great things are going. Free rabbit hutch, not free enough. Hello all. So this happened a few years ago, but I suddenly thought of it and realized other people might get a chuckle out of it. Buckle up. At the time, I was a post-grad student, living with my then boyfriend, now husband, in a tiny top-floor flat in a tall, narrow Victorian terraced house. All this is relevant. Space was at a premium, but we had a cemented yard in front where the bins lived. Our street also had better houses, and these houses shared a large space with all their bins. I passed in front of it to and from uni, and one day, amidst the bins, I see a big, think 6 feet by 8 feet, lovely rabbit hutch dumped there. It looked great. It was not broken. It was hand-painted with flowers. Clearly, either someone's beloved rabbit had just passed, or they got an even better one. Anyhow, a pity for it to be carted off and dropped in a landfill. I snap a picture and post it on my local pet-related Facebook group, giving the rough estimate of where it is in case anyone needs it and wants to pick it up. And Karen 1 gets in touch. Karen 1. It's amazing and I could really use it. Sorry to be cheeky, but could you drop it off at mine? I don't have a car. Me neither, sorry, and it's not my hutch, it's just there. Karen 1. Oh, okay, disappointing. Anyway, I could be cheeky again and ask you if you could bring it here via public transport. I'm not great with moving stuff. I live in the postcode 5 miles away. I can pay you back for tickets. Me. I'm so sorry, but I can't. It's too big for a bus. It's 6 by 8. Okay, I'll see if my friend can get it for me. 15 minutes later. Karen 1. Hey, so my friend Karen 2 will come and get it with her car. Me. Great. Did you tell her how big it is? Sure, no problem. She'll be there later. 3 hours later. Karen 1. Hey, my friend cannot come today, but she can come tomorrow. Me. Cool. Can I ask you to hang on to it so no one else gets it? Me. I mean, I don't really have space. Even a front yard would be great. I suppose, but I really can't keep it longer than a day. Oh, for sure. Me and boyfriend lug the hutch into our front yard. It literally only just fits, and I put a sign on it telling other people with a flat in a building it will be gone in a day. That evening it rains, and up pops Karen 1. Karen. Hey, so it's raining. Me. I noticed. So, I was wondering if the hutch is outdoors. As I said, yes. Oh, well, can you bring it indoors? No, sorry, I don't have the space. Even in the hallway? My hallway didn't fit 2 people if those people weighed more than 90 pounds. Me. I don't have space. Oh, but can you cover it? I suppose I can pop a couple bin bags over it, but it's wet now. How about a tarpaulin? I don't have it. I'll put the bin bags over it. Just tell your friend. And thus my boyfriend and I went out in raincoats, tore apart 3 perfectly good bin liners, and somehow tucked them around the hutch. I was meanwhile beginning to wish I had left it for the landfill. The next day comes, boyfriend goes off to work, I go to uni. 3 p.m. and up pops Karen 1. Hey, so my friend is on the way. Where are you? Me. At uni. Oh, okay. When are you back? She was kinda hoping you could help her load it. Look, around 5 p.m. So late. Oh, well, I was hoping you could help her. If she's going now, I can't. Sorry. Karen 1 disappears. I do my thing, stop on the way back to get some milk, take my time. Anyhow, I'm back at 5:30. The hutch is still in the courtyard, and in front of the house is parked a car, whose driver gets out as soon as she sees me go to open the door. This was, needless to say, Karen 2. Karen 2. Hey, you're late. Me. Excuse me? Karen 1 said you would be here at 5. I've already come and gone for you. Me. We didn't have an agreement. Karen 2, impatiently. Well, she said you did. Help me. Where's the hutch? Me. Points mutely to the 6 by 8 bin liner covered box shaped in the yard. Oh. Pause. It's dirty. Me. The bin liners were new. Your friend wanted it covered from the rain. Okay, but it's next to the bins. Me. It was abandoned by the bins. Okay, but I cannot put a bin hutch in my car. I don't say anything. Let me call my friend. So at this point, I went upstairs to put my milk and things away. So I regret to say, I do not know how the convo went. However, this is what happened when I went downstairs to try and finally get rid of this hutch. Karen 2. So, she said you told her you'd clean it. Me. I said no such thing. But she said, look, I'll show you the convo if you don't believe me. I didn't say it. Okay, but can you clean it now? No. But how can I put it in my car? Look, I'll give you 2 more bin liners, but this is not my hutch. I just picked it up from the garbage. Your friend knew, and this is really it. Okay, but I went to get her 3 liners to be safe, handed them to her, and said goodbye. Okay, but aren't you helping me? I looked at her. I looked at the hutch. I just wanted to set the thing on fire. Mutely, I grabbed those liners and went to her car. Me. You'll need to recline the seats or it won't fit. How do you do that? This woman didn't know how to recline her own seats. I've never had a car, so I didn't either. At this point, this was ridiculous. But in for a penny, in for 300 pounds apparently, So I googled it for her, and somehow we managed. I tore the bin liners, we tore the seats. Finally, the end was in sight. Me, okay, let's just get the hutch in and you're ready to go.
But it's covered in bin liners.
We stare at each other. Me, I'll take them off, but we need to get it in. I have stuff to do. I had a K-drama episode to catch up on, no regrets. I take those bin liners off. Underneath, as expected, the hutch is wet, but you know, in one piece. Me, okay, grab one side, I'll grab the other.
But it's wet.
Me, now at the end of my tether. Look, I told your friend it was left in the garbage. I told your friend it was outside. I told your friend it had gotten wet. If you don't want to pick it up, it's not on me, but there is absolutely nothing I can do about it.
I could call Karen 1.
We do this now or I go in. Karen 2, massively unconvinced.
Okay.
We grab the rabbit hutch. We maneuver it in. It only just about fits. I shake my hands clean, say bye, and pop back in. As I lock the door, I hear Karen 2 wail,
But the paint chipped off on my car door, and there's straw inside the car now.
I ignored her. She knocked at the front door for another 10 minutes, I think, but I could hear her only in a very muffled way from way upstairs. As I sit down with my cup of tea and my episode, Karen 1 pops up on my phone. Karen 1.
Hey, so this is not acceptable. I expected, clearly, that you'd take better care of my hutch. And my friend,
I blocked her. When my boyfriend came home, about half an hour later, Karen 2 was thankfully gone. I saw Karen 1 again, months later, on a different pet group, where she bragged that she had built and painted her lovely rabbit hutch herself. Watch this video next, you will love it. And join as a channel member today and we'll give you a special shout out in our next video. And to have us make any kind of video you'd like us to, come visit us on Fiverr, link pinned in the comments below.